Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana National Petroleum Corporation justifies board approvals for nearly 2 million cedis for various corporate social responsibility initiatives, including a donation to the First Ladies Foundation.
These are part of the process of GNPC, the board subcommittee on brands, communication and CSR. Some of the activities are purely advertising opportunities for GNPC.
The governing New Patriotic Party, meanwhile, says there's absolutely nothing wrong with the donation to the First Ladies Foundation. The closure of Nigeria's border with Benin continues to hurt the Ghanaian economy, even as the authorities extend it to January 2020.
We want to at least leave here by 8 o'clock this morning, but we will now stay till around that kind 1, 2 o'clock, so that the time we will go to Nigeria border to get to around 4, 5 o'clock.
Leaked to indicate the Terminal ports lost some $100 million in import duties and taxes on clinker.
Main bridge at the Eastern Gate is under repairs. We are refurbishing it.
I'm Israel and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlemle here in Accra with digital address GA09925539. The Ghana National Petroleum Corporation has justified its board approval of nearly 2 million cedis for various corporate social responsibility initiatives at a recent meeting. Included in the approvals is an amount of 500,000 cedis for the 20th anniversary of the Ochehene and 120,000 cedis for the First Lady's Rebecca Foundation. And now, head of the Joy News, the investigative desk, will be joining me in a bit to tell us more about it. But the donations come at a time many industry watchers have complained about the amounts spent by GNPC in CSR activities when it has nothing to show as far as its core mandate of crude production is concerned. So let's go. Malik Dabo has just joined me in the studio, and he's going to be taking us through some of the donations that were approved by the board. Thank you very much for making time, Malik. So you tell us, what are these approvals? So these approvals are contained in a memo which was sent to the Chief Executive of GNPC, Dr. KK Sapong, and it was authored by the board secretary, Matilda Ohene. Now, there are 6 categories of donations that were supposed to be made and which were approved. These were on the basis of requests that were made to the GNPC and were approved by the board of the corporation. Now, the first one was a 2019 Damba Festival donation. The amount here involved, this is to the Dagbang state. The amount here involved is 400,000 Ghana cedis. Then there was an amount of 300,000 Ghana cedis that has been allocated to the 20th anniversary of the Ochehene Amoti Ofropenyin. Then there's a further an amount of 500,000 over a period of 3 years. That's 500,000 every year, amounting to 1.5 million for purposes of environment and greening, also going to the Ochehene. Right. Then there is the 120,000 that you mentioned that is going to the First Ladies Foundation. There's an amount of 50,000 which is going to the Ghana Journalists Association. There's the Ghana Boxing Association is also receiving $30,000. And then the last one is Yoko, which is receiving 550,000 Ghana cedis. These are the 6 categories of amounts that have been allocated and approved by the board to go to these organizations and individuals and foundations. All right, thank you very much, Malik Dabo. And as I indicated, the donations come at a time many industry watchers have complained about the amount spent by GNPC in CSR activities when it has nothing to show as far as its core mandate of crude production is concerned. There are programs at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Nucleus Day, here at last week's Joy Businesses event on 10 years of crude production in Ghana, said the corporation's CSR budget for 2019 of $43 million is excessive.
Past, GNPC has engaged in wide-ranging activities. And here I point to 3 types of activities. 1, non-petroleum related investments. Then there are the quasi-fiscal transactions and activities. The third category of non-core activity is corporate social responsibility. Now, nobody argues against corporate social responsibility. CSR is a good thing for any company. I'm sure the banks here do CSR. But when your CSR budget is so huge that it in some cases overtakes your personal emoluments budget, then there's a problem.
The General Manager, Sustainability at GNPC, Dr. Kwame Ba Nwankwo, however, explains the approvals are very much in line with the corporation CSR objectives. He's been speaking on Top Story on Joy FM.
Basically, these are part of the process of GNPC, the board subcommittee on brands, communication, and CSR. Some of the activities are purely advertising opportunities for GNPC. So, for instance, Ghana Journalists Association, as part of their GJ Awards, will go out to organizations who advertising space in their brochures and for stated benefits. So they came to GNPC. They brought a proposal, we reviewed it, went through corporate affairs, reviewed it, made a recommendation to the board on an opportunity for us to advertise GNPC. So that's purely an advertising opportunity. Similar case is the Ghana Boxing Association as well. It's purely advertising opportunity for GNPC. And the board has the power and the right to determine how they are going to market the image of GNPC. So basically, for those two, Rebecca Foundation, an amount of 120,000 Ghana cedis. It's to support two women's groups as part of our economic empowerment activities within the Western region, specifically in the Mpoko West, to set up two oil palm milling plantations in the Western region. One for the Nyame Insa Women Oil Palm Processing Association and a Dumbansu Women Oil Processing Association. Of course, anybody can decide whether they feel GNPC should be supporting women's groups. But we are in the Western region as part of our corporate social investment.
On that, Dr. Ba Nwankwo, you acknowledge the concern there about conflict of interest and whether this particular allocation was done purely based on merit or because of patronage.
Well, I think anybody can make such arguments, but I can assure you that GNPC is made up of very well-meaning guys. This process begins with my unit, which is the corporate affairs unit. The request would have come through the chief executive. The chief executive would have referred it to the corporate affairs unit. My team would then review the various sponsorship requests that will come in to find out whether it even falls in line with any of our stated objectives. Once we feel there's a case, then we would have forwarded it to the board subcommittee on brands, communications, and CSR. If they feel that there's any worthy project to be supported, then they will forward it to the main board. I think it goes through a process that in the past few years or so has been well documented, and the outcome of the initiative that GNPC has undertaken, especially in our corporate social investment activities, are documented even in the PIAC report of 2018, which talks about the fact that we have done value for money and make sure that the impact is great. So I think there is enough evidence to suggest that.
And so you say that if the wife of former President John Mahama sends a request for you to sponsor her foundation, you would do so?
I think there are records to show that we've done that in the past.
What about the 500,000 CDs you're giving to the 20th anniversary of Ochihene and 400,000 to the Damba Festival? How does that fall within your own stated CSR mandate of education, social infrastructure, health, sanitation, and facilities?
And environment.
Yes.
Environment
how does that fall in the mandate?
The tree planting for Chile is a project to plant 25 million trees in 3 years. This request was received over 4 months ago. And it has gone through a lot of discussions and processes to determine the viability of such a project. GNPC believes in environmental sustainability, as you clearly have stated in your preamble, and we thought that this is a very good project that needs support. And the board, in its wisdom, felt that if the country, through the Ochehene's Palace, can plant 25 million trees in 3 years, it's a step in the right direction.
So how much exactly is your Ochehene getting? Because I see in the document there's 500,000 over 3 years, and there's 1.5 million for the environment and greening, and then there is an additional 300,000 for the organization of the 20th anniversary.
I think if you read the memo well, it says 500 over 3 years, totaling 1.5 million Ghana cedis.
Now, the donation to the First Lady's Foundation has been flagged by some as political favoritism, especially because the GNPC board is chaired by the national chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay. Let's take a look at the rest of the board members. We have Dr. Kofi Kodua-Sampong, who's the chief executive. Professor J.S. Nabila, the board member. Kwabna Kwachi is also a board member. Nana Ajwa Hackman is a board member. Ojia Hoho Yao JB II is a board member. We have Yao Che, a board member, and Matilda Ohene, the board secretary, who actually signed the memo which approved or indicated the approval for the payment of the various amounts. Now, the NPP's Director of Communication, Yao Bwabinga Samoa, has ever dismissed the assertion that it has anything to do with political favoritism.
First of all, you would accept that GNPC has its corporate social responsibility structure. Yes, and that responsibility structure is an objective process. It is not run by the chairman of GNPC as an individual. It is not run by the chairman of the GNPC as an individual. And therefore, they will have methods for determining how they determine who gets what out of their corporate social responsibility. Secondly, the Rebecca Foundation is a public foundation. Everybody knows what they use their funds for. Everybody knows they are involved in charitable social work and that they source funds from all manner of institutions. And so it is not illegitimate for the Rebecca Foundation to source funds from any of these institutions who have a corporate social responsibility platform. It is not. And their fundraising is also objective. They don't come in the middle of the night and say that, oh, Mr. Chairman, find me some money and tomorrow I'll pick it up in a rubber bag. That's not how it's done. They apply formally and demonstrate what they are going to do with the monies they seek. And it goes through the process at the other end before it is released. So I believe that institutionalization of those processes eliminates the notion of conflict of interest. And that is why I spoke about the question of leaping to conclusions merely because of apparent things. You always leap. Oh, this is corrupt. This is conflict of... Why? Because you can make inferences that so-and-so is a member of the political party and is chairman of this organization. For all you know, GNPC's social responsibility functions are not even determined in the main board. It's determined elsewhere. So I think it's important that we substantiate allegations.
Well, moving on to other stories. Leaked confidential documents from National Security reveal the Tema Intakrade port lost more than $100 million in import duties and taxes on tons of clinker imported by cement manufacturing companies over the last 5 years. In our three-part series titled Leaking Ports, journalist Kwete Nate takes a look at how the absence of weigh bridges at the ports contributed to this massive revenue loss.
The annual consumption of cement in Ghana is estimated to be 5 million tons per year. Thus, according to the 2018 statistics from the trade information website GhanaTrade.com. Leaked files from the National Security reveal that in the last 5 years, there has been a significant and steady increase in the quantities of clinker imported by cement manufacturing companies into the country. Data from the Ghana Shippers Authority reveal that 1.8 million tons of clinker was imported in 2014, 1.2 million in 2015, 1.4 million in 2016, 1.9 million in 2017. But 895,519 in 2018. In 2017, 2 more cement factories went into production, increasing the country's capacity. This should have normally have resulted in an increase in the importation of clinker in 2018. Out of the estimated 5 million tons of cement consumed in 2018, 4.5 million tons was produced locally. Given that clinker constitutes 70% of the composition of cement, the national security documents show that the amount of clinker needed for the 4.5 million tons of cement produced locally in 2018 ought to have been 3,150,000 tons. However, less than 1 million tons of clinker was declared by the cement manufacturing companies. In fact, only 895,519 tons of clinker was declared. This represents 2.2 million tons of shortfall from the estimated figure. The ports have no weigh bridges for weighing liquid and bulk imports for the purposes of assessing duties and taxes. The leaked documents reveal that the ports rely on data from vessels and cement manufacturing companies for tax and duty calculations. Tema Customs Sector Commander Joseph Eduche confirms the absence of weigh bridges at the ports.
The weighing bridge at the Eastern Gate is under repairs. We are refurbishing it. And then when the bulk goods come, we rely on the report weight. And we also have MPS weight, we have GPUT weight, where we reconcile.
Like the port authorities, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority also relies on multiple data sources to charge duties on imports by the cement companies.
So we have a system of valuation, but you don't have the customs value. It's a system of valuation, and now that the benchmark we have been, it's a government policy that any imported good, when you look at the value, and it's reasonable, it is the actual invoice, actual amount paid for the goods. We have you must divide it by 50%. You divide every value by half. And that one is the FOB, which is now operating. With regard to the vehicles, so it's the same. Every vehicle, the FOB is slashed by 30%. And that is what we are using now. So we have a system of verifying values, and not that we straight away use the custom value. We don't have any custom value, but we use the transaction value. We use what has been recommended by WTO, so that is it.
Let me find out. Do you have an instance where you brought to the attention of these cement manufacturers that you have noticed differences in the values of the data that they've submitted to you in terms of their imports that they've made with regard to dry and liquid product that they've brought into the country?
The valuation system is done in Accra. We have a department or an office in Accra where they verify all trading documents to be sure of the value. So when it is approved, they come to Tema to clear. But at times we also use historical data to check. So when we see that your value is going down, we prompt your attention that no, within this period, you brought this consignment value at this. Why is it now is going down?
In 2018, for instance, the revenue loss, according to the National Security Files, was over $62 million in import and port duties. The estimated duty on a ton of clinker is $26, while dues are $2 per ton. Government therefore lost about $5.8 million in duties and taxes, while while the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority lost $4 million as a result of the more than 2 million tons of clinker that were undisclosed. The national security files attribute the leakage to poorly calibrated weighbridges. The Ghana Standards Authority, however, says it tests the weighbridges of the cement companies twice a year. It claims the margin of error was insignificant. George Omanichumesi is the Director of Metrology at the Ghana Standards Authority.
Ghana Standards Authority has the mandate to verify all weighing and measuring instruments used for trade. All manufacturing companies, including the cement manufacturers, have their own weighbridges, and these weighbridges are verified twice a year to ascertain the accuracies of the various weighbridges. So it's not true that those weighbridges have not been verified.
From the national security files, it seems there's a win for the cement manufacturing companies, while the state coffers bleed. General Manager, Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Esther Jebidonko, holds a contrary view. She says the ports measures make it difficult for the cement companies to exploit the system.
With Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, I would say that as far as we are concerned, we are not losing revenue. Now, the bulk operators, yes, I will accept that we don't have the kind of weighing bridge that can establish the gross weight of the bulk that is coming through our ports. But we have a system. First of all, the lines would have to provide the manifest, and the manifest contains the details of the cargo that is coming, its nature, its tonnage, weight, as we will put it, and then other details for the cargo. So first of all, the shipping line provides us with the manifest, and we have the weight or the gross weight of the bulk cargo that is coming into the port. And then when the bulk cargo arrives, like you mentioned for the cement products, where we are looking at Gasem, Dangote, and the new ones, CIMAF, and all those that have come on board in recent times, we have two other ways of establishing the weight and confirming with what came on the manifest. One of them is the fact that, yes, they have the weighing bridges, but we have our clerks situated on their premises. And then also that when they are weighing us and when the trucks come in with the bulk, we are able to pick the weights with them. And then also we have a third means of checking the weights of the bulk cargo that they are discharging, and that is also for us to take the survey report.
Kutinati's report for Joy News.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. The closure of Nigeria's border with Benin continues to hurt the Ghanaian economy, even as the authorities extended to January 2020.
But at least leave here by 8 o'clock this morning. But we will now stay till around that kind 1, 2 o'clock. So that the time we will go to Nigeria border, we get to around 4, 5 o'clock.
Meanwhile, in business, some members of Guta closed down about 100 shops at the Opera Square in Accra as part of measures to compel foreign retail traders to leave the local market. Stay tuned in, we'll be back with business in a bit. Transportation companies flying the Ghana-Nigeria route are having to reschedule their trips as a result of the closure of Nigeria's border at Benin. Commuters are also less willing to ply the route for fear they will be stranded at the border. The closure, the transport companies lament, is simply bad for business. Journalist Henry Kwesi Bedu visited some bus terminals here in Accra and reports that commuters are equally frustrated at the development.
It's 10 a.m. at one of the busiest bus terminals here in Accra, where goods and people are transported to Lome, Cotonou, and finally Lagos. But the story looks different today, as the first bus is yet to move due to low patronage resulting from the closure of the main Nigerian border with Benin. Traders, both Nigerians and Ghanaians, waiting here since dawn, are upset.
If you see, many people are suffering. Many people, if you get to border now, see in the night, people are suffering, they cannot cross.
Yourself, you are a driver of the vehicle.
Yeah, I'm a driver.
Were you supposed to have left long ago?
Long ago, I was supposed to at least leave here by 8 o'clock this morning. But we will now stay till around that kind 1, 2 o'clock. So that the time we will go to Nigeria border to get to around 4, 5 o'clock. They normally open the border 6 a.m. in the morning, close 6 p.m. in the evening. So that is why you see delay buses, delay passengers. In short, passengers are suffering.
I just hope this gets to the Nigerian government. I'm using this opportunity to appeal to them, to appeal to the federal government and the Minister of Interior and all of them to please look into this matter. To them, they may be sitting in their air-conditioned office and all that. They don't know what is going on. Probably some of them will just take flight and in the next 30 minutes they are here. But you are not thinking of, oh, what about your citizens who are doing business, people who are living in this country?
They say the scrutiny travelers and vehicles at the border are subjected to has brought about a lot of hardship and inconvenience, with many of them forced to spend the night at the border before being given passage.
Since 2 years ago, I've been coming in frequently, so, and I know the sufferings that we are, having in that place. It's not really an easy thing, I must tell you. Most times when you get to the border, you have to sleep. Number one, there's no lights there. Number two, you can imagine if, for example, an elderly person is traveling, the mosquitoes, everything, you can't even calm down because you are not allowed to calm down to stretch your legs. So you have to be inside the vehicle till the following morning when it will be opened again by 6 a.m.
Now, despite the numerous pleas, Nigeria's border closure has actually been extended until the end of January 2020. Joy News' head of security desk, Gifty Ando Appiah, has pitched the camp at the Nigerian-Benin border over the weekend, and here's her report as she interacts with both Ghanaians and Nigerians who are bearing the brunt of the policy.
We arrived in the Beninois capital of Cotonou on Thursday. Once we got to the border, it appeared brisk business was ongoing. About 15 people approached us, volunteering to take us across the border with or without document or goods, an action prohibited by the Nigerian government. In a team of 4, we agreed to be taken into Nigeria by the smugglers to understand what happens on the unapproved routes. It was a bumpy road full of little ponds created by a few days of rain. On the back of a total stranger, a people smuggler, and a rickety motorbike, we get on the way. Halfway through the journey in an area I now know to be a no-man's land, a dozen young men begin to run after our motorbike, shouting in a language I could not understand. Soon, we were stopped and surrounded, and what looks like an exchange ensued. I got to know the men who were running after us were negotiating our release to them because that part of the area is their territory. They wanted for us to be handed over to them and for us to pay additional money for them to take us into Nigeria. At this point, I start to imagine all that could go wrong on this journey and request to be taken back together with my team to the main border. That took a while and an explanation that I do not have enough money and needed to get back to the border to bring the rest of the money they are requesting.
only 1,000 I have here. It's only 1,000 I have here. Go back. Let's go back. Because I don't have enough money here, so let's go.
You come back again.
After a long back and forth, we were brought back to the main border. At this time, it was too late to go through the main border to Nigeria, as the border closes at 6 p.m. The next day, we'll go through the processes to experience what happens on the approved route. First, we go through about 6 different posts where our passports are submitted and examined. Between the passport check area and the exit gate, we find on our extreme right tens of trucks parked with drivers idling. This is a restricted area, but we manage to interact with the stranded drivers, most of whom are Ghanaians. The drivers complain of theft of their goods, especially for those carrying food and beverages. They also say fuel from their vehicles are siphoned by people in the area.
They keep stealing diesel from the trucks. We even told the minister. The thieves are really worrying us. We plead with the government to help us. It's difficult to even find food daily. We are really suffering and we are being robbed. I'm a conductor and my master had left. Isn't even clean water for us to drink. We've been here since 8th August. Our goods are expiring and the thieves are stealing from us. Even the clean water is hard to come by. It affects our skin when we bath.
Well, Parliament's Committee on Trade and Industry says it has been engaging GUTA, the Ghana Union of Trade Association, on the matter. Vice Chairman of the committee, Atu Pamford, joins me on the phone with more on this. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, I want to know how far or what progress has been made as far as these conversations with the Nigerian authorities are concerned.
Very well. Good evening, Israel, and thank you for giving this opportunity to speak to some of these issues. I think one of the most important things is that as a committee, we already have before us these two challenges, with the Nigerian retailers within our Kumasi jurisdiction.
Yeah.
What we have been looking at is that the whole issue was referred to the committee on a joint committee level. That's the Defense and Trade, Industry and Tourism Select Committees of Parliament. We've been able to engage most of all the stakeholders. But the one fundamental issue there that we need to look at is that GNPC is now trying to make some amendments to their act. And of course, that bill will have to come back. But we did all these whole engagements during the time that we were on recess. And now that we've resumed Parliament, the committee, this joint committee's report will be laid before the plenary for us to discuss, and then the Speaker will direct. But then let me move on to the Nigerian-Benin border closure. What we've been trying to do was to try and see that we get a right feedback from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. In fact, last week, we engaged our minister to give us a vivid report of what the ministry has been doing. Information that we took from the minister indicates that the minister tasked the Deputy Minister for Trade, Industry and Tourism, Honorable Carlos Ahinkra, and the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs. So these two Deputy Ministers move into the area, taking the whole trip by road and making sure that they experience exactly what is going on through these borders. But then let me say that there's a window of hope of what these two diplomatic arrangements have come up with. There is a window that all Ghanaian trucks which are behind the Benin border are going to be allowed to move in. And as at the time that we are having the report from the minister, that he has also received information from Carlos Ahinkra, Honorable, was that the arrangements are done. I think there's other few statistical information that the ministry needs to feed the Nigerian counterparts. But I think there's some level of diplomacy and then arrangements being done to give Ghana specifically, that window for our trade, goods and services, and then the human beings to be able to move to do their business.
Granted, but it turns out that the people who are waiting behind the border have waited for a while, and it doesn't sound too. The situation doesn't sound too optimistic, especially when the Nigerian authorities say they're extending the border closure to the end of January 2020.
In fact, the ministry, as they informed us, was that they've taken note of all these sort of, issues that Nigerians have claimed that they are security issues that they want to deal with the Beninese. But then, equally, like we all know that, equally as they are trying to put a checks and balances there for their security issues and then other trading issues, especially in terms of rice, importation through that window or corridor. It's also affecting our traders, and then it has really slowed down the movement of, that sort of thing. But however, at least Ghanaians are having that window to go through. We all know that the situation is not quite pleasant, but then I think the conversations at that ministerial level are going on. And then Parliament, Select Committee for Trading District, we are monitoring and following exactly what the actual final feedback will come up from. I'm sure very soon there's going to be a statement of law of Parliament now that we've resumed, and then we'll look at what the discussions will be for our Speaker to be able to direct.
All right, thank you very much, Hatu Panford.
Israel, you're welcome. You're welcome, Israel.
All right, and he is the Chairman of Parliament's Trade and Industry Select Committee. Now, residents of some communities at Ningo Pram say they have become victims of persistent attacks by armed robbers, largely because of the terrible nature of their roads. The roads at PS Global Estate and Watchfield, the residents say, are filled with ponds, gullies and deep holes as drivers are forced to drive through the potholes. Residents say some people who used to live in the area have been forced to leave as they are terrorized by robbers who continue to take advantage of the bad roads. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
Security issues. I was under attack a number of times at the place. On one occasion, armed robbers came to the area, went to my neighbor's house, broke in and shot the woman in the house. From there, they moved to my apartment, tried several times to break down the door and come in at around 1 a.m. The robbers had enough time to rob my neighbor, take out...
The voice of a banker, Prince Ejay, who formerly lived at PS Global. He abandoned his residence after many attempts by robbers to break into it. His neighbor was shot. That compelled him to move out of the house he bought. He says he felt helpless and too scared to continue living there. Unlike Prince, another resident, Bernard Anan Butchie, couldn't afford to leave his house after armed robbers pointed a gun on him, his pregnant wife, and 2 children. He says he continues to live in fear. The 2 men believe the bad state of the roads in their area has made it possible for robbers to continue to terrorize them.
The worrying part really is the fact that the robbers come and they have time to do whatever they want because it takes a while for a police to come around. The distance from PS Global to the main road is just about 5-6 kilometers, but because of the nature of the road, something that should take you maybe 5 minutes or less, you need about 20 or half an hour.
Ni Alute is the president of the Residents Association. He says some commercial drivers in the community refuse to work anytime it rains.
The last 3 days, the rain, the heavy downpour, you can't imagine. No car is coming here. If you pick a taxi from Deftraco Junction and you ask them that you are coming to PS Global Court, they will not bring you. They will tell you they are not going. They are not going to use the road. I have to use a 4-wheel drive. My small car is parked. I can't use it. Every year we buy latrites, get a grader to help us grade it. We want government to come to our aid. But they've been attacking the downside where we call the Gate 1, the Love Hill, and then the Global.
Innocent Agbavo is a driver at the PS Global Taxi rank. He says commercial drivers in the area spend a lot of money to repair damaged parts of their cars.
It depends from car to car, I use the small Kia. The brand new is around 1,005, and the home use is around 500. On this road, when you use the car, the longest you can keep it like 2 weeks. If you rent, nobody wanted to go to PS down there, where the story building is. Nobody wanted to go there.
Seth Sovo is a resident of PS Global. He's appealing for the roads to be fixed.
We want the government, the authorities around to help us fix this road. In fact, the number of houses here, if this road is done, it could divert traffic from the main road through the side down to Kpong, and then to Tor, and then to Tema. You would reduce the traffic. But because it's not done, nobody wants to use the side. Look at the way our cars are. It's affecting our cars. You have to go to shop everywhere.
When Joy News contacted the Pram Divisional Commander, ACP Doji Honoji, he stated there are security implications for the terrible state of the roads at PS Global. He says the bad roads are a major reason for the attacks.
Right, some breaking news just reaching us. ACP Dr. Benjamin Agojo has been in BNI custody since 1 p.m. Today over a coup plot issue. Now, this issue came up sometime last week, and it was indicated, there were indications that 2 top police officers were involved or were implicated. We have his lawyer, Martin Pebu, on the line to tell us a bit more about this. Thank you very much, lawyer Martin Pebu. So what do we know? What is it that your client is said to have done for which reason he's been in BNI custody?
Yes, Israel. The case is that my client was invited to appear before the BNI, and he did. So this afternoon, he was accompanied by another ACP on the instructions of the IGP. So he was accompanied by ACP Adamu. Okay, so we got in here, and then we're taking through the normal, what you call a procedure. Initially, they said, oh, they just needed him to assist with investigations. But just this evening, they turned from assisting with investigations to actually cautioning him. So meaning that he's on his way to be made an accused. The offense they've written is abetment of treason. Abetment of treason. So they're saying that he assisted Dr. McPalm to prepare for this and the coup. So that's the offense. If you come into the details, what it is that he was confronted here with WhatsApp messages, okay, that he had given to, he had sent to Dr. McPalm. Actually, the tag platform. I don't know if you still remember the fact. There's this platform.
A WhatsApp group that were created, yes.
Exactly, where you have so many professionals on it who contribute here and there. And it is the case that, at least what we saw at DNI here, Dr. Agozo gave advice to them. There was going to be a demonstration where he gave advice that, oh, they need to see the police. You know, they need to get a police permit and all that.
Yes.
Then there is another one where he stated that, oh, Ghana has conditions which are similar to the Arab Spring. Oh, but Israel, you know that as for Arab Spring, all of us political commentators, socio-political commentators, we've all said it at one point or another, trying to encourage government to get more jobs, because we say, hey, if there are no jobs, then we may have Ghana's version of the Arab Spring. That is it. This Arab Spring that today, if you check in the media, you get over 40 commentators who have persistently warned that we should take steps to create employment, lest we'll have Arab Spring. These are the reasons for which he's being kept. Yes.
But have you spoken with your client?
Yes, I'm here with him. I just stepped out, and then you guys granted me this.
And what's he saying about all of that?
So he sees it as a witch hunt. Yes, his version is that this is a political witch hunt.
But why would he be targeted?
Yes, Israel. No, Dr. Agozo, at least as far as I'm aware, his short fame on the national agenda was this presentation he did at IDEC, where once again, all he said was something that we always all know. He just said that, look, the police service is not independent. The police service is at the behest of every ruling government. And so usually they are told, go this way, then they go that way, they go. Israel, what is strange about this? It's something that every politically conscious citizen knows, that usually the police service is controlled by the ruling government. It's not new. I mean, you know how we do this. It's the same. All the ruling governments that have come. Usually, you know, the IGP is appointed by the president, and, you know, the president is actually the head of the police service, so to speak, because he, as a political authority, he has authority over them. The president is the chief disciplinarian of the Ghana Police Service, and so on and so forth. So when you say the police service is not independent, you've not said anything. No, that's the state of our democracy, which we are trying to improve upon. So that is the context. So he thinks that presentation he did, which went viral and brought him so much public acclaim, the government is not happy, and so at this least opportunity, they are taking it to, you know, kind of exact revenge.
Now, what do you intend to do at this point?
Yeah, so basically tomorrow we'll continue with the interrogation session.
Does he get to go home with you, though?
No, he's not allowed to go home. That is a sad news. Yes, we've tried. And you see, you're asking that why is he not being allowed to go home? We all know that under our laws, usually you keep a suspect when he's a flight risk. For somebody as senior as Dr. Agozo, where is he flying to? You keep a suspect when he's a flight risk. I don't know what kind of calculus that was done that they think, oh, let's keep him. No, under our laws, you say abatement. So abatement, yes, but every offense is bailable, you know. So far, as I'm telling you, for all the hours that we've been here, the evidence we're confronted with, where this is the statements that he's made on the platform. He's given advice that, look, you're going to go on a demonstration. You need to obey the laws. You need to apply to police for permit, X, Y, Z. Then the second one, the statement that Ghana has all the conditions which are ripe for an Arab Spring. Oh, Israel, like I said, I have also said the same. Look, this thing is said by so many commentators. And when people say it, they are saying it in the context that we know we don't have enough resources, but, you know, as citizens, we try to remind government that, but try to do your best, create more jobs so that we will not have Ghana's version of the Arab Spring.
All right.
What is the coup about it?
Okay. Thank you very much, Martin Pebu, and wish you all the best with your client. But Kojoga Dawudu is a lawyer for Dr. McPalm. He is on the line. It is emerging that anyone close to Dr. McPalm has been invited, including his stepmother. Can you give us a bit more on that, Mr. Dawudu?
Thank you, Israel.
So yes, we're aware that your clients or people close to your client have been invited, and why have they been invited, and what are they seeking from them?
Thank you, thank you, Israel. I just believe that I said this from day one, that we are going to have a comic relief. You know, it is everybody who is believed to be on the TAC platform, which is a social media platform.
Does it mean that the stepmother is also on this platform?
She's on the platform. And, you know, this
how many people in all, do you know how many people in all are on this platform?
There are about 200 plus, 200 and over. But some people started deleting their names when some were arrested.
Right.
I was not even surprised. I was speaking to the stepmother, who is Professor McPalm. Whilst we were going, that I know Dr. Benjamin Agozo was also part of the platform. So he will be the next person who will be invited after Kofi Boakye. I was not surprised. When we got there, I met Dr. Benjamin Agozo, and I was telling him that I was the prophet.
Are you saying Ethiopia Kofi Boakye is also on the platform, and he's
no, because when he was arrested, and I said, because there are soldiers, there are police, there are lawyers, and others on the platform. These are all people they are invited. You see, so it is everybody who is there on the platform. Today, when I went there, there were about 5 or 6 different people who are on the platform. And I think that, hello?
Yes, I'm still listening to you.
I think what is being done is a comic relief. Does it mean that you cannot be on the social media platform? And what was the content? They just asked you, there were other policemen who were just taken to BNI, locked, and the next day they were released, and they said they've not found anything about them. You just invite people and intimidate them. And when we went there today, they were intimidating the professor. And I said, look, you cannot speak to the professor like that.
All right.
Out of respect, she's older. And I was telling them that, look, if everybody, or even saying going on demonstration, and Dr. Agozo is saying that it is not time to go on demonstration, it was at the heels of the Ayawaso when they were discussing that they want to go on demonstration for what has happened, because these are social ills. And he said, no, it is not time. And he was also talking about this Arab Spring thing. And I'm surprised that it's been put there, but it's a danger that we are opening the floodgate. We call senior military officers, put them in BNI, senior police officers, put them in the BNI. It's opening the floodgate.
Thank
and
you.
We need to be very careful.
All right. Thank you very much, Kojogan Adaudu. He is lawyer for Dr. McPalm, and he and several others in police custody and in custody over an alleged coup plot. You're watching Joy News Prime. That's where we end it. Unfortunately, we're unable to bring you business and sports. I'm Israel Live. We'll bring you our hotline documentary next. Stay tuned in.